2, 1.
Good morning and welcome to Failure to Stop podcast, the number one podcast for police breakdowns. Today's show brought to you by shieldbox.com, ghostbed.com/Wolfpack, and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. We've got an insane police chief running a department like a daggone frat house. Today's episode, we're going to talk a lot about police culture and just culture in general. In your life, on your squad, in your department. I want to go over more than one case and why it's so prevalent in 2025 policing. All this and more on today's Failure to Stop. Hit it, Joshua.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Frank the Tank, Frank the Tank, Frank the Tank. Guns up, giddy up. Yes, we got a police chief running a department like a frat house. It's gonna be a wild show today. You know what I mean? A lot of this show has to do with police culture, but maybe some of you guys can relate it to the cultures in your civilian careers as well. Culture is extremely important, and it's a fine gray area, especially when it comes to first responders. I like to think of paramedics, EMTs, police officers, firefighters, and dispatchers, the darkness that they see. It's very, very difficult mentally to sustain a long career in any of these fields because of the amount of trauma you see in a week. Matter of fact, one of the characters in my book, Piglet, in a seriously funny true story, who's been a police officer for 25 years, by the time he got to chapter 15 of my book, he called me and said that he just got done weeping and wailing and crying, and it's something I never expected to hear from this gentleman in my book. And he said his wife had to hold him, and it was like he had 25 years of therapy all in one moment. In my book, the dark humor compiled itself together, and as he was reading the book, he was laughing, but he was also thinking about the seriousness of what we're actually laughing about, and it caused him to cry and weep. Now, I don't think it was disrespectful, what I wrote in the book. It's not disrespectful like some of the cases we're going to talk about today, but it hit him in the feels. And I don't think that a lot of first responders realize how severe the trauma that they see on a weekly basis actually is. You know, some cops, some big city cops have seen more trauma in 1 week than a civilian will see in their lifetime. It reminds me of a skate park. I was actually messaging one of my kids' friends. He's a little young entrepreneur. He goes by Poser. He calls himself the Poser, which I love it because it's humble. There's a little humility there in calling yourself a poser. If you're not familiar with the skate scene, a poser is somebody who dresses the part, who looks the part, but doesn't live up to the part. He's a poser. He's faking it through life. And so he's kind of making a joke because this kid lives it. This kid's broken his arm skateboarding. He goes all in when he's skateboarding, but he's also an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur trying to make it through. He's got a little website that he's put together. I say little website. I don't say it disrespectfully. I say a little because I see these kids as kids, right? I'm a 40-year-old man. And so anytime that a younger teenager, a younger adult is doing something, it's little to me. So I don't mean that in any disrespect, but he's got his website is, it's Existential Skate Company, Existential SK8 Company. And I was actually going through some of his merch. It's really cool. Obviously, he's not a paid sponsor or anything like that. I'm not trying to promote this in any way, shape, or form. But it goes back to I was skateboarding with my kids one day, and this gentleman, this young teenage man, I don't know what to call him without being disrespectful these days, is skating in the bowl, and he falls and he snaps his arm, and the bone comes out of the skin like there's blood. And he's at the bottom of the bowl, and he lifts his arm up, and it's dangling sideways and upside down, and the bone is lodged out of his arm. It's a terrible break, one of the worst ones I've ever seen, actually. And everybody took off in separate directions. Adults, all the adults. The kid had to crawl out of the bowl. Now, I was on the other side of the bowl from where this happens, and I'm trying to get to him, but he's going the opposite direction of me. And he crawls out of the bowl with his arm, and he's looking, and people are panicking, and they're running in all sorts of directions, and he's walking around with his arm, and he's looking for help, and he goes to this bench where all these women are sitting, and they launch up out of their seats, and they take off, call 911, and they all run from him, and I of course I'm yelling, hey, come here, and he's looking at me, he's already in shock, and I said, and he just looks at his arm, and I sit him down, I say, maybe we don't look at the arm right now, look at me. Look at me. Where is your mom and dad? I drove myself. I drove myself to the park. Okay. All right. Another guy comes by and goes, oh my God. Ow, the bone. I can see the bone. And I'm like, will you shut the front door? Will you shut up? You're like, that's not opening. And the guy's like, oh, and I was like, let's just lay down. How about we just lay your head down? You're going to be okay. It's a broken arm. People break their arms all the time. It looks bad. It looks crazy, but they're going to fix it up very, very quickly. Matter of fact, I'm going to cover it right now. I'm just going to put a little thing on. Please don't touch it. Please don't touch it. It's okay. It's okay. Lay your head down. And as he's laying down, I put, and at the end of the day, not all that traumatic, right? The next week I go to the park and this guy goes, man, I don't know if I can skate. After watching that, I don't know if I can skate. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. See, civilians don't realize that police officers will see somebody's leg laying in the middle of the street, somebody's head still in their motorcycle helmet on the side of the road. They will see somebody that's got multiple stab wounds. They will be with people in their last moments. And this is a weekly thing for them. I mean, how many suicides have you responded to as a paramedic or a police officer? And it's always sad when somebody takes their own life, but we see it over and over again. The trauma that a first responder will see in a week typically will be what a civilian won't see in an entire lifetime. We love to give the benefit of the doubt to people suffering from mental illness. When you see that person walking around with the mental illness nose ring, you know what I'm talking about? The horse thing that goes there. Now, I love it because it's always an indicator that 99% chance this person is suffering from some kind of mental disability. I don't know why they've all chosen that nose ring, but it's apparent, right? And we all have empathy for that person. And when they make a mistake, we have empathy. We empathize with that person. We say, oh, they're suffering from mental illness. Oh, it was the trauma from their childhood where their dads, abused them, or, mama wasn't there for them enough. Mama didn't breastfeed them, whatever. I don't know. Their past traumas, right? Childhood trauma. All of the therapists are into childhood trauma. What is your childhood traumas? We like to have empathy, and we give excuses to these folks who are suffering these things, but we have zero empathy for the law enforcement officer, mainly, that suffers from an even darker and much more prevalent form of trauma that obviously keeps you up at night, forces you to have a bad diet. We like to make fun of fat cops. I love to make fun of fat cops. I can't stand fat cops, but also there is a lot of science that shows when your cortisol levels are mixed up that you gain weight. Now, it's your responsibility at the end of the day as a first responder, as a protector, a guardian, a warrior. It is your responsibility to keep that in check, but it's a why. I'm not giving you an excuse, but sometimes I'm giving you a why. Why is a cop the way that they are? Why do they make decisions that they do, the things that they do? And that is your why. It's extreme, extreme trauma, and we love to downplay that. You can hear the birds behind me chirping. They're chirping so loud right now. It is so beautiful. It's 68 degrees outside right now with a high of 72. And yes, the window is open. And I need the window to be open because today's episode is going to take us to some of these trauma-induced. It's going to be a very trauma-inducing show. Does that make sense? I would like to have the birds. By the way, speaking of mental health and mental wellness, ghostbed.com/Wolfpack50. Mental health and wellness starts with a good night's sleep. That's why we're proud to be partnered with Ghostbed. Beds made in the good old, say it with me, Josh, if you're back there, my producer, USA. Josh, this is why you're back. This is why you're a producer. This is why you're behind the scenes, Josh, because you can't even get the USA chant. Listen, I need you to Focus and do it right. USA. 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 See? You still can't do it. It's not that hard. Go back to being a producer. You're dead to me now. Jesus. It's like he's got one leg or something. Bedsman, the good old USA. Use the promo code Wolfpack. Get you 50% off, 40 to 50% off site-wide. Matter of fact, the pillows are insane. They last you forever and ever and ever. I travel with my pillow everywhere. The massage topper and the massage mattress. Now, maybe you have the ghost bed that already comes with the zero gravity massage inside of the bed. The massage topper, if you don't have the bed, or even if you do, you're able to take it like into the living room. So like for me, I'll do some jujitsu, some Muay Thai, walking around NC State campus with my kids while they skateboard. My back hurts. I lay on the floor and I get my back adjusted by my ghost bed massage topper. Also the cooling sheets, the cooling technology that's actually in the bed, the copper wires that interlay the bed for healing technology. A lot of things that go into these beds. I've been down to the facility in South Florida and I've walked through it. I absolutely love my ghost bed. Head over to ghostbed.com right now and use that promo code 50% off. The reason why you need to do it right now is because after 4 years, the deal is actually going to go away. The 40 to 50% off, I have been told, is probably going away in April, as early as May. No, I'm sorry. As early as April, as late as May. But they are rebranding. They are doing some restructuring. They're redoing it. I hope we get to stay on because we've been there for four years with them. I will always be a lifelong Ghost Bed fan. But if you want to get a hold of that deal, now is the time to do it. All right. Back to the show. Oh, Ginny says, I am just lurking. I've never watched AFTS. But hey, friends. Guys, I'm going to be talking to the chats quite a bit after I get through the serious part. So please don't feel like Tyler S., Folk Around and Find Out, Jenny. Let's see, we got David J. up there, Mur 530, Ben Allen, Armory Knight, Deadleg, Bosco. Don't feel like low rent. Don't feel like I am abandoning you right now, Jay Keefe. I'm not abandoning you. I'm gonna get to you, and I appreciate you guys all been in here. It has been 4 years, yes, sir. It's actually been longer because I was with Ghost Bed when I was on the network doing the first podcast that I ever did on the Drinking Bros Tetherball Network, which was Drinking Bros Sports Tailgate Legends Show. I did that for a year. Anyway, let's get back to today's show. I'm going to read this article, and then we're going to get a little bit darker. All right, this is a little bit lighter, and then we're going to go infinitely darker. Let me put this picture up on there. Josh, there's a picture in my media assets of this chief. Bring that up while I read this, if you would, please. A police chief. This is coming from NewJersey.com. NewJersey.com. A police chief in Hudson County, New Jersey, is being accused of assaulting and harassing his officers, and a lengthy list of complaints that includes defecating on floors, exposing himself, attempting to drug coworkers, and sticking a hypodermic needle into an officer's penis. Chief Robert Farley, who was appointed chief of the North Bergen Police Department in February of 2024, is also accused of retaliating against an officer who attempted to report him to New Jersey Attorney General, according to court documents. 5 police officers in North Bergen said that they plan to sue over Farley's alleged behavior, which also includes claims of retaliation, discrimination, sexual misconduct, and harassment. In an email on Wednesday, a township spokesperson called the claims false and outrageous. The township of North Bergen has full confidence in Chief Robert Farley's leadership. The spokesperson said. The spokesperson added the township officials have referred the officers' complaints to the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office for review to avoid a conflict of interest. Now, here we go. The list of complaints ranges from a pattern of ongoing pranks, like putting ink on door handles, setting off car alarms, oh no, leaving crumbs on cops' desk, to much more serious allegations of using racial slurs, spiking the office coffee pot with Viagra and Adderall, and sending sex toys to an officer's home. Boy, that escalated quickly. When I first read this morning, I was like, this sounds like a man after my own heart. Some crumbs on the old desk. You know, the cop, we all have that first responder that's in the office that has to have his stuff all one way. right? The pencils go over here. The pens go over here. He's got the yellow tablet next to his computer. He's got the coaster for his coffee cup, and everything is organized. And if there's a crumb on his desk, he loses his crap. And it's always fun to just kind of give him a little sprinkle or move his pen around or shift his notepad or draw a little penis, a phallic image on his notepad. We've seen it. We've been there. Most of us have done it, setting off a car alarm. We all got that one cop that loves his car, parks it out in the squad lot, puts it at the very back because he doesn't want anybody's door to hit it. He's got to work 3 off-duty jobs just to afford that bad boy. Come on, kick the tires, set the alarm off. It's all in good fun. Putting ink on a door handle, could be silly in the right moment. But then we go a little too far. Then I kept reading and I was like, racial slurs? What's a racial slur? Sometimes they consider things a racial slur that aren't actually a racial slur, like the R word or the F word. Like, not a racial slur, folks. Not a racial slur. Also, there's a lot of like Jews in the office, right? And oftentimes they will deliver a cut down and you will deliver one back. Might have to do with their religious beliefs, things like that. So racial slurs, I don't know, right? Doubt he was dropping the N-bomb. Doubt he was actually, maybe he was. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Locker room gallows humor is pretty wild, even in the most strictest of departments. We're going to talk about it. I'm not telling you it's right, and I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm telling you we're going to talk about it in just a second. Spiking the office coffee pot with Viagra, there you go. Now I've got a problem. In the military, I had 3 rules, and I made sure that everybody in the military knew what my 3 rules were. My 3 rules are: do not mess with me when I'm asleep. Do not hinder my sleep. Sleep is hard to come by in the military, especially serving in a unit that I served in. And even in combat rotation, sleep is hard to come by. You sleep when you can get it. Do not fuck with my sleep. When I'm allowed to get my sleep, do not fuck with it. If you fuck with my sleep, I'm going to nuke you. I'm upfront about it. Don't do it. I won't mess with your sleep. You do not mess with me when I'm sleeping. That's my rule. My rule number 2, do not mess with my food. Food is hard to come by, especially in the military where I came from. I respect food. My food is sacred to me. Mealtime is important to me. That's why I have dinner with my families. I try to keep dinner as a sacred moment in my household. It is special. You come to the table and it's special. You put a shirt on. We behave. We have no screens at the table. We set the table. We light a candle at the table. Dinner is very serious. Do not mess with my food. If you fuck with my food, I will nuke you. I won't mess with your food. Please don't mess with my food. And my 3rd rule is you don't mess with my wife. Don't make fun of my wife. No, that's not true, because a lot of dudes would be like, yeah, I banged your wife. Like, I get that. That's locker room humor. But what I'm saying is, like, don't do it in front of don't like actually make fun of my wife in front of my wife. Don't embarrass my wife. Don't fuck my wife. Don't flirt with my wife. I won't mess with your wife. Don't mess with my wife. Those are my rules, right? Pretty simple rules. So this messing with the coffee pot. Oh, you guys know, listen, battle tested coffee, right? I burned through this shit. I drink 4 espressos before noon. I don't really drink any coffee after noon, but I can't get enough of this battle tested coffee. Use promo code Wolfpack. Battle tested coffee. You put Viagra in my coffee, we're going to have a problem, dude. We're going to have a real problem because you fucked with my food. Food, drink, same thing. Putting Adderall? What is this guy thinking? Sending sex toys to an officer's home. In context, don't have a problem with it. On the face value, could be funny. I've once received from one of you fans dick chocolate. A big chocolate candy bar in the shape of a dick. I think that's funny. Also, when I broke my leg fighting a murder suspect, I woke up from surgery. They put me in a cast. I was still high on drugs, coming out of the daze and confusion of surgery. And the canine officer drew a penis on my cast with a magic marker. My wife, we had to put duct tape over it for the next 4 months that I was in a cast. It's funny, though. I don't have a problem with it on its face. Let me continue on with this article. Quote, "I've never seen anything like this in my life," said Patrick Toscano, the attorney who filed the claims on behalf of the police officers. The officers say Farley's toxic and abusive behavior have been going on since soon after he became chief. He has been with the department for 26 years, and both his father and grandfather served as deputy chiefs. Some of the officers say they've reported Farley to the attorney general's office and that state the investigation is underway. A spokesman of the office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Farley, who earns more than $228,000 a year, Jesus, man, posted a statement to the department website after he became chief saying that he is committed to making sure officers have the support they need to succeed, stay safe, and improve quality of life in the community. "I will strive to lead the officers of our department to be an assembled component of our community while maintaining their competency, transparency, and professionalism." But some officers in the 123 member department beg to differ. Now, here's where it gets really shitty. Michael F. Darren, who's 59 years old, worked as a special captain with the administrative duties assigned to Farley's office in 2023. According to court documents, Darren and Farley had been friends and traveled with other high-ranking officers in December 2023 to St. Bartholomew in the Caribbean. In August 2024, however, Farley's attitude towards Darren changed, according to the officer's notice of intent to sue. "Chief Farley chases me around his office," Darren wrote in his notice. "After cornering me in the filing area with no further room for retreat, he sticks a hypodermic needle through my jeans into the tip of my penis." Oh, you would be a pile of spaghetti noodles if you touched me with a hypodermic needle in my penis, through my pants. I am beating your brains until they are about as useful as Joe Biden's brain in his final term as president. You get what I'm saying? Chief Farley, or Darren, wrote that the needle drew blood and that he was further humiliated when he had to explain the injury to his wife. Oh, my wife I wouldn't even have to beat you into spaghetti brains. My wife would do it for me. When another officer filed a notice of intent to sue the department, Farley allegedly blamed Darren for giving the officer information that could be used against them. "From this point on, the chief creates a hostile work environment," Darren wrote. "The chief would shave his body hair on people's property, their persons, and their food," Darren wrote. Here we go. Now you're treading in very deep water, Chief. "He was also fond of scraping fluids from his underwear onto people seated in the chief's office." Darren claims he was his way to report Farley to that he was his way. Mistype here on the website here. Farley to state attorney general's office when a captain called him to fire him. 4 other officers filed allegations against Farley. Darren's son, Detective Michael A. Darren, Lieutenant Alex Guzman, Rashid Siam, and Officer Christopher Bowen. So his own son, Darren's son, filed a complaint as well. They each detailed various complaints of harassment, sexual misconduct, discrimination, and retaliation. Detective Darren said that he witnessed Farley dump a handful of Viagra and Adderall into a coffee pot, stirring the pills until they dissolved, and then waiting for someone to drink a cup. After that, Darren said he would get his coffee from a K-cup machine because I did not feel it was safe to drink from the pot anymore, he wrote. Guzman claims in his notice that Farley on multiple occasions came out of the bathroom in his office, exposed himself to others in the room, and made inappropriate comments. Chief Farley has on several occasions pulled his pants down, defecated on the floor in front of his entire office staff. He has also left feces on the bathroom floor, apparently with the intent of having someone unknowingly stepping on it. Farley also alleged was clogging the toilet with paper and other objects and defecating in waste baskets near the desk of the officers, the notice says. Now here we go. It gets worse, folks. Sex toys sent to homes, firecrackers under the desk. Guzman claims his family members were also subject to Farley's harassment after the chief sent sex toys, intimate lotions, and gay pride flags to his home. These items, which were opened by my wife and seen by my children, have caused unnecessary. I mean, God, listen, you've got a single friend and you want to send him some shit. Could be pretty funny. It can be at times, right? I'm going to get into this deeper, though, because I have a caveat. I have a caveat for you. Let me continue this. The lieutenant says in filings that Farley became convinced Guzman had filed an OPRA request to gain public information to use against him. Farley slandered my name in the department, using me as a scapegoat for all the discord in the department that his poor decisions created. Guzman wrote that he and his family have suffered from severe emotional distress that can be traced back to Farley. He also says he's been seeing a psychologist due to the alleged ongoing harassment. Among some of the other incidents of harassment officers had to endure included Farley placing hot sauce in a microwave, which essentially turned the substance into a pepper spray that permeated the office. I rushed to turn off the microwave as fast as possible, but the fumes spread from the chief's office throughout the entire police department so badly the fire department had to be called in order to vent the building and get the scent out. What? He also put firecrackers under officers' chairs, once ripped the television monitor off the wall and smashed it into pieces, and yanked a doorbell off a wall because he felt too many people were visiting the office. Here we go with the racial slurs. Officer Siam claims Farley and other managers retaliated against him for being a whistleblower who cooperated with an internal affairs investigation over hostile work environment and civil rights violations. Siam told investigators that other departments called him camel jockey and terrorist, and that a detective told him people of his heritage were responsible for 9/11 attacks. Officer Brown claims in his notice that he was reassigned to an undesirable shift due to ticket and arrest quotas in violation of New Jersey law. He also claims he was placed under the direct supervision of an officer who doesn't like him, which caused undue stress. Toscano, the attorney who filed the claim, said the notice outlined the potential for damage. Injuries are required before an employee can sue a public entity. It's a lot to unpack here. I want to take a moment to talk about culture in a police department. Not just a police department, but maybe in your own squad, your own friend group, your family. The problem with this, the problem that I have with all of this now, on a surface level, a lot of these things I don't have a problem with, believe it or not. Whoa, Eric, how could you say that? This is diabolical. I don't have a problem with a lot of it. Here's where I do have a problem with it. You're the chief. You're the leader. You set the tone for your men. You are the example for them to follow. When my kids play pranks on each other, I get it. They also know to tread lightly because if dad catches wind of the pranks, there might be a timeout. There'll be an apology. Does that stop brothers from being brothers? Absolutely not. The other night, my son was filling up a tea pitcher with water and ice from the refrigerator. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm filling up this pitcher with ice and water." I said, "Great. Don't use all of the ice because you know your mother likes to have ice water before bed." I didn't question him on what he was doing with the pitcher of water and ice. Next thing I hear is, "Oh, come on, Duke, come on." And then all of a sudden I have a naked 9-year-old running down the hallway and my other son coming out of the bathroom laughing. What had happened is my one son was taking a nice hot shower. The other one filled up a pitcher of ice water, dumped it over the shower curtain, thus putting cold water all over the son, forcing him to run out of the shower and down the hallway away from his brother. And of course, he got a good laugh at it. And I yelled, "Get a towel, wipe it all up, knock it off. It's bedtime. Stop with the shenanigans." Stop with the shenanigans. Why? Because I am the leader of my household and I determine the culture of my household. Now, do I want to be an iron fist where my son plays this simple prank and I punish him to no end and I give him a spanking and I ground him and my kids live in fear over me? No, that's not a very fun environment to live in. but they also live in an environment where they know that there is a boundary and there is a line. And I let them know when they're getting close to that line by calling them out on their bullshit. Now, there's no punishment for putting ice water on your son, but you know what? He knows that that's as far as the jokes can go. He knows to tread lightly. He knows that he can't get too diabolical, because if dad's going to get that mad over the ice, what will he do if I step that prank up? I set the tone for the culture of my household. Now, when I was a police officer, the squad jokes, they were rich. We would make fun of, there was a female that I work with. We would make fun of breast sizes. She would make fun of my penis size. I've never seen her breast. She's never seen my penis. There's another man on the squad that we would make fun of his Hispanic heritage. And meanwhile, he would make fun of our white privilege. There's another beefy guy in the gym who did not do steroids, but we always would accuse him of steroids, and we would accuse him of being a meathead, and he would retaliate back and call us skinny little scrawny bitch. The locker room humor and the banter of a squad level was always there, but you know what? There was a sergeant there, and there was a culture in our department where you knew that if you said this outside of the locker room, if you said this outside of context, you were going to be in some deep shit. And so we took care of each other because we loved each other, and we never went too far. If Sarge heard the banter, if he heard these inappropriate jokes, he would say, "In my office." And you would be like, "Oh no." And you might be doing hospital duty or desk duty. He wouldn't punish you to where it goes up the line and you end up with paperwork. He would punish you enough to know this is inappropriate and I can go no further. But the culture of the department was still fun, but it was safe, and it was on the line. But we never crossed the line. There was no hot sauce in the microwave, but there might have been shredded paper in your locker, right? There was nobody putting Viagra in the coffee pot, but there might be hiding the coffee. It never went too far, but there were a lot of drinks. Matter of fact, one night we were held over in the snow, and I fell asleep. It's okay. I was allowed to fall asleep. I was only for emergency calls. And I had a clip-on tie that I had taken off of my body. And the men on my squad, they took the tie and they put it in a thing of water and they filled it up and they took it outside in the snow. And I got a call and I had to look for my tie and I couldn't find my tie. And they were all laughing. And then outside was my tie frozen in ice. Right? It's funny. The jokes will never, ever go away. You can't get rid of the jokes, but you can't let the jokes go too far. And the culture of your department is important. And why is it important? Because if you do not manage the culture of your household, if you do not have boundaries, if you don't have a gray area, then what happens is you have this fucking guy, this police chief who's out of control. And listen, nobody got hurt per se in this, but what about Tennessee cop? Do you remember about the Tennessee sex romp cop scandal? Let me read this from the New York Post. If you don't remember it, the disgraced former chief who was at the helm during last year's steamy sex scandal at a Tennessee police department won't be wearing a badge again anytime soon. One-time top cop Burl Davis, who's in charge of the Laverne Police Department, when ex-cop Megan Hall's saucy trice with 6 officers made national headlines and was unanimously decertified last week by the Tennessee Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. That means that Davis will not allowed to wear a badge in the volunteer state ever again and might have trouble finding a job anywhere else. You're a police officer 24/7 and you're the chief, end quote. One of the commissioners said of the decision, "I think your conduct was very unbecoming." According to an internal affairs investigation, Hall, who was married, this is the female, an ongoing affair with one of the department's sergeants and was tied to a tryst with other cops, including a threesome with one officer and his wife, a romp during a Girls Gone Wild themed hot tub party with other officers. Davis was not accused of having sex with Hall, but acknowledged that he was sent racy photos of Hall by at least one sergeant under his command and joked about the station house sexcapades. She has a tight little ass, though, former Sergeant Ty McGowan allegedly messaged the chief after sending him a photo of Hall, according to the investigation. Yup, he responded. The scandal cost the cops their jobs, including Davis, Hall, who later filed suit claiming she was sexually groomed, which I don't buy at all. Davis also was sued for racial discrimination, but the complaint was denied. I didn't sexually harass anybody by receiving a picture, he says. The outlet said he told the commission, if you go back and look at the actual transcripts, they will tell you that Hall was sending pictures to him and other people saying, if you want a booty call, hit me up. That's what she was saying. Davis also defended his message exchange with McGowan, who he'd known for 16 years. These are messages between two friends. They are not on a city phone, he said. So I did not let my hair down and have trust in a friend? Yes. Did they use it against me? Yes. Am I going to be responsible and accountable for my text message? Yes. Was it a reflection of my job? No, because I did my job. No, sir. Your job as a leader is to make sure that everybody in your department feels safe and is safe, and that you have a healthy culture for your department. Is it a healthy culture to be ruining marriages and your own marriage? Is it healthy that married people are involved in perversions that leak into their work area? By the way, she was giving BJs in the locker room bathroom to another officer. I believe it was the canine officer. It's not healthy for anyone. I'm not saying she was right or wrong, or they were right or wrong. I definitely don't believe she was groomed, but I think the whole entire thing was grossly inappropriate. And the leadership, by saying she does have a nice little ass though, that is your job, to be the dad, the father that says, that's inappropriate, delete that image, and I want to talk to Miss Hall, and I want to talk to everybody else involved, and it stops now. It stops now. It's inappropriate. I don't want my officers out on the streets knowing that all of this is going to go bad. There's no way that she's having a threesome with another cop and his wife, and that shit doesn't carry on to something darker and much more nefarious. You cannot tell me that it's okay. You might want it to be okay. You might want it to feel okay. In the moment, you might think it's okay. But let me be really real with you. Very rare scenario does that play out well. And when you add that to doing it at work and with people that you work with, it's definitely not going to end well. It's poisonous. And you shouldn't do it. And if you're the leader, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have a safe culture for the people that you work with, especially when it's at that level. It takes me back to the Denny Perkins case. Denny Perkins created the most foul and heinous crime we've ever covered on this channel, where he had terabytes of underage females, where his wife and him, a school teacher, were making cupcakes filled with his ejaculates and serving it to students in her school, where she was taking cheerleading outfits out of the locker rooms, giving him oral sex for him to leave his ejaculates on those clothes and then put him back in the locker room. I mean, the most heinous and disgusting case we've ever covered on this. And the department, when we talked to other people that worked with them, and I met with one, actually came to my distillery, and they say like, oh, you never would expect it. We never saw this. This is crazy. But then in the same token, you get into other stories and they're like, oh yeah, that's why we called him Dirty Dick Dennis. Dirty Dick. Oh yeah, because he was the wild man. You would go out to a party. He was always the wild guy. He would always be hitting on girls. Wait a minute. You said you didn't see any of this coming, but his nickname was Dirty Dick Dennis? Goes back to one of my friends in the police department. He was having an affair. Yes, he's still a good friend of mine. He was having an affair on his wife with another officer. And luckily, our department, the culture there was we did not celebrate that type of thing. And though he had his fling and he tried to justify it and they had their excuses, later on he'll still say, he'll say now, and he's with his wife and it's all come out and he's asked God for forgiveness and everything else. And he will talk, and he has completely changed his life. I don't think he would have changed his life. And I don't think he would be where he's at today if the culture of our police department celebrated that kind of behavior. I think it would have caused him to do more things and he would end up divorcing his wife. But no, he had to keep things. When the department has a shame for these types of things, it makes you feel accountable to these things, and it forces you to change your ways in a healthy, in a healthier way than letting you hit rock bottom and all blow up in your face. See, the culture of your department can actually help you and get you through some of these bad decisions that you're making. We have to hold people accountable. I believe that with fat people. I feel that with perverted people. I feel that with liars and cheaters. I feel that there should be an amount of shame for what you do so that you can fix it in a healthier way, so that you can come to terms on your own, because you can say, guys, I think you're right. This might not be good. How do I fix? How do I change myself? Should never celebrate these things. When you are a police officer, I don't hold you responsible so much for the pranks, because going back, this is what I said, I don't have a problem with a lot of it. There's a lot of things I don't have a problem with because the brothers are going to tease each other. The gallows humor has to come out because we have to. We have to make jokes. I made a comment on a Facebook post of this video that I'm about to show you. Let's play the video. Before we play this video and I read you my response to this video, if you want to get in shape, if you're tired of being a fat cop, fat first responder, Factor Meals is a great way to start that journey to becoming a healthier, better cop. Better first responder, a better protector, a better guardian, a better warrior. Meal planning is huge, is very important. It's 75% of getting back in shape, is getting control of your diet. With Factor Meals, you can have a meal plan that is created for you and delivered to your door. Fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. They come in a beautiful box with some Nordic ice to keep it refrigerated. You then move it from the refrigerated box to your refrigerator for the week. You can do breakfast and dinner, breakfast and lunch, and dinner, lunch and dinner. However you want to do it, you can set it up. You can do calorie conscious, protein heavy. You can do vegetarian options. They have beautiful shakes. They have smoothies. They have bacon and eggs. It's the breakfast, some of the best eggs I've ever had, to be honest with you. Insane. I don't understand. Head over to factormeals.com/wolfpack50 and get your first week 50% off. That way you don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't have to try to figure out what's healthy, what's not, read the back of the labels and all this stuff, separate it, find your Pyrex and Pytex dishes, and then, figure out a way to heat it up in your first responder peasant microwave that usually makes everything else take about 15 minutes to heat up. No, these take 2 minutes or less, even in those first responder peasant microwaves provided by the city on the city's budget. Head over to factormeals.com. Use the promo code Wolfpack50 today. All right, let's play this video, and then I'll read you my response to the video on Instagram.
I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah, just write a check. Just, yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Let me read you an article about this really quick, and then I want to talk about it. This is from huntnewsinu.com. Huntnewsinu.com. Cruel mockery. Seattle police officer recorded on body camera laughing about Northeastern student's death. He's fired by the department. I think I have a picture of him on there. Joshua, put that picture of this man up there. The Seattle Police Department officer who was heard on body camera footage last year, laughing and joking about the death of a Northeastern graduate student, was fired July 17th. Officials confirmed to the news. Interim Chief of Police Sue Rar terminated the police officer Daniel Adrar after an internal investigation by the Seattle Police Department, or SPD, found that he violated the department's professionalism policy, told the news July 18th. In a body camera footage released by the department in September 2023, Adrar was recorded laughing and saying that the 23-year-old Yana V. Kandula, a graduate student at Northeastern Seattle campus, had limited value, and she was fatally struck by a police cruiser in January 2023. An email to the department confirmed by the news. Rar said that Adrar's cruel comments and callous laughter about Kandula's tragic death caused pain to her family and immeasurable damage to public trust of SPD and law enforcement officials across the world. This case has been covered extensively in the public, has garnered international media and diplomatic attention, and I am confident that everyone in the organization has had the opportunity to learn about the case and hear for themselves the officer's words. This is what she wrote in an email. Noting that it is unusual for a police chief to explain the reason behind a termination to the department, I am choosing to share the outcome of this with all of you because the far-reaching impacts of the officer's actions reflect on all of us, not just us as members of the Seattle Police Department, but on the profession of law enforcement. Adrar, who was hired in 2008, made a crude remarks while on the phone with Seattle Police Guild President Mark Sloan on the day after Kandula's death. Kandula was struck by SPD officer Kevin Dave January 23rd while walking in a crosswalk, according to an incident report. During the phone call, unintentionally recorded on his body camera, you heard it. I'm not going to reread what he said because we already heard it. In her email, the department, Rar said that he had to balance intent versus impact when he decided whether to terminate Adrar, adding that Adrar intended the conversation with Sloan to be private and that he was engaging in gallows humor. Gallows humor is common coping behavior among those who routinely witness traumatic events. Merriam-Webster defines gallows humor as humor that makes fun of life-threatening or serious situations. Most of us in law enforcement have engaged in gallows humor from time to time, she said. Also said that Adrar is well regarded, if not beloved, by his peers and superiors. People like this guy. Means he's a hard worker, probably. Goes on to say he has done many positive and noteworthy things during the course of his career. I expect that many of you will disagree with my decision and perhaps be angry hearing my reads. Our colleagues wrote letters of support for the officer amid the investigation into conduct according to disciplinary action, or DAR produced SPD obtained by the news. I have a big problem with this because this is an officer that's suffering. Now, here's what I wrote. Hold on. I wrote in response to this on social media, and it's gaining traction. There's like 75 responses to it. I'm not saying it's a good thing or it's a right thing, but when you are surrounded by death and the worst of people every day of your life, inner city street cops, your sense of innocence dies with every traumatic incident. Inner city street cops and EMTs have more traumatic incidents in a week than most people will see in a lifetime. The people are no longer people to them. They are just incidents. It's a coping mechanism. Read my book, Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. It's crazy how dark first responders can get before something like this is caught on tape and they see how far down the hole they have actually gone. The perception is bad, but this is life in big city cop world. Bad stuff like this happens every day for them, and they have to do it for 30 years. Think about it. See, to these guys, these are not people. To this officer, this is not a dead woman. It's not a dead man. It's not a dead black person. It's not a dead white person. This is a dead incident. It's just an incident. It's just an incident. I actually write extensively about this in my book, Pig Latin, in a comedic way, but it is very dark. Again, it caused my friend to cry uncontrollably for a little while, but I write about it in my book because one of the first dead bodies that I dealt with, and I say in the book that, I had messed with bodies in Afghanistan, but I never had to touch them, right? Like I saw dead bodies, I saw mangled bodies, but I wasn't responsible for the bodies. And now I'm a rookie cop faced with a woman who died of the flu and didn't have any loved ones, any friend or family to check on her. And so 28 days later, while her shower was continuously running through its hot and cold cycle, and the house was a steam bath and had melted her body into the carpet, they see the body snatchers that showed up were two women who couldn't lift this melted body off the floor. And of course, I'm the rookie, and so I'm forced to put gloves on, and without any instruction, I go to pick up this body and I grab it by the arms and the skin pulls off and it's melted to my gloves. And they all make fun of me, and you can laugh at all the jokes that they all made fun of me as we make fun of this moment that later on that night I write that I'm sitting in my cop car and my training officer is asleep and I'm staring up at the stars and I cannot believe what I just went. I can't believe that the two body snatchers were so cold and callous and so dark humored about this poor woman who had died of the fucking flu and had nobody to love her and to check on her, and that my training officer is fucking sleeping. I'm never going to sleep again, I thought. Little did I know that was the tip of the iceberg for me. But I write in my book that night, I after thinking about it and dwelling on it, I said, there's no way I can do this for 30 years. And I said, from now on, I will never, ever put a name or an emotion to the body that I have to deal with. They are not a somebody. They are just a body. I write that in my book. They're not a somebody to me. It's just a body. And that way I could cope with it the way that they were coping with it, that I wouldn't be a victim to post-traumatic stress syndrome. That these people were not people to me. They were just an incident to me. And throughout the book, you'll see very at one point we're at a car accident that involves two people dying. I write about it in the book. And the one girl was folded up underneath the driver's side. She was the passenger, and she was folded up under the driver's floorboard. The driver was sticking halfway through the windshield, his head and torso poking out of the windshield, and he was stuck, and he was still alive with his hands pinched in the glass, gargling blood and death. And we have to get the door off of the car, but there's a gun in the car, and this guy was running from the police before he wrecked the vehicle. And the fire department, they can't go into the car because there's a gun there. And so they use the jaws of death and they get the door off. And when we get in there, there's a head of a female underneath the driver's side seats of where the driver had been. And so the driver's ass was very close to the head of this female. And the firefighter, without hesitation, goes, wow, in my house, it's the other way around. And I'm still trying to process this head laying on the seat. And I said, what do you mean? He says, in my household, my wife usually sits on my face. Without even thought, without even hesitation, that's what came to his mind when he sees this woman's head laying on the seats underneath the man of this ass that just had this extremely gruesome car accident while this man is still dying. He's not a bad person. He's not a bad person at all. He's a firefighter. He's a protector. Gallows humor. They're not a somebody. They're just a body. And I would argue that his words do not physically hurt anybody. How many lieutenants and sergeants get a DUI and somehow maintain their job? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. This officer's remarks, though they emotionally hurt somebody and he should be punished, absolutely. Probably have to fire him. If I'm the chief, have to fire him. I don't think that the chief did anything wrong here from firing this officer. And I'm not justifying what the officer did. You have to set an example to your troops. It's inappropriate, guys. I get it. You have to fire him. I'm telling you the why, though. I'm telling you why he did it, why he said those things. I'm telling you why he did it, because this man is suffering. And when the police officer, when the lieutenant, when the sergeant gets his DUI and they send him to rehab and he gets rehabilitated, and that's great. I don't mean to be a mocking rehabilitation. I think that is extremely important. Finding AA, finding God, whatever it is to get you sober, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever it is that gets you sober. I encourage you to find sobriety. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing.
Okay.
I was just coming in. I got a point to make after you get done.
We get them rehabilitated. However, this officer needs rehabilitation. This officer is suffering, man. When he thinks that a 26-year-old girl has been ran over by a car is funny and it's laughable, this cop is suffering, man. I bet you this cop is the type of cop that gets kicked out of the gun show because he's trying to measure the size of a gun by sticking it in his mouth and seeing how it fits. Let me try on this gun.
Doesn't
This
like it from
cop
the
is
taste.
hurting, man. They always say that comedians commit suicide, more than a lot of other professions, and that comedy is a sign of hurting. I do stand-up comedy. If you read my book, it's a very dark comedy. And this is the way I found, this is how I don't suffer. One, I don't suffer because I had a good culture, because my leadership didn't tolerate a bad culture. And I felt safe at work. I felt loved by my supervisors at work. I felt loved by my squad mates. I wasn't afraid to drink the coffee. I wasn't afraid to sit in my chair. See, a chief exploding firecrackers underneath the chair, that chief's not protecting you. Because now if he does it, your friends can do it. The way it is your friends put the firecracker and chief protects you. Chief says, hey, enough. Everybody put your firecrackers on my desk now. That will not be tolerated. And though my brothers fucked with me, I know I'm protected because daddy's going to put an end to this. Just like my kids, they know they're protected. My 9-year-old son isn't going to be conflicted his entire life with being bullied by his older brother, or my 7-year-old or my 5-year-old. They're not going to be conflicted when they're older because they were bullied by their own siblings. They're not going to grow up to be bullies to other people because they know that daddy didn't tolerate it and they feel protected. And they know that my brother will only go so far before my dad steps in. And that is important in the culture of your police department. That is the culture of your family, the culture of your lifestyle. You set the example for them to follow. Now, the other day, because I don't want to be preachy and judgmental, the other day, I came out of the shower and my two sons were like, oh, Dad, oh. And I immediately tucked my wiener between my legs and I was like, hey, guys, look, I'm a girl. To be funny. All right. And they laughed. And they were like, oh, my gosh. And then I was like, oh, shit. These aren't my friends. These are my kids. And yes, it's a funny joke, but I don't know if it's funny for my kids. And so after I got dressed, I said, boys, come back into my room. And I said, listen, what daddy did was inappropriate. That was not a super funny joke. I shouldn't have done that in front of you. That was silly. That was locker room humor. So listen to me. There's a time and a place. I chose the wrong time and I chose the wrong place. When you're making a joke, you can make those jokes with your friends. You should never cross that line. There should never be a woman present. Your mother should never be present. You shouldn't do these things in front of anybody. That it's a time and a place. And I screwed that up. And they were like, yeah, I got it. And I said, do you guys understand that, yes, it's funny? And I know that you ran down the hall and you told mom, and mom was like, oh, goodness, that's funny. But do you understand that you, by no means, should you ever do that in front of your sisters? By no means should you do this in front of other kids at houses. Like, this is inappropriate. When you're old enough to make the decision of when to, make the funny, my penis is gone, it's missing joke, you can do that. There's a time and a place. And so when you fuck up, and you're probably going to fuck up as a chief, you've got to let your guys know. You got to let your squad know. You got to let your workmates know that you fucked up and that it's not appropriate. It's not right. Josh, I know you had a point to make.
Yeah. So the point I want to make is this is what's ridiculous about this. A pedestrian got smoked in a crosswalk from a police car responding to a call. And the officer that was terminated from this first was the officer making a joke about this on a body camera photo or body camera video of a recorded conversation that was a private conversation between two individuals that got leaked. That person lost his job before the person that killed somebody lost their job.
Because perception is everything, right? So what the perception, if the perception doesn't look good, that's the most important thing to the police department. It's not the community, but by no means is the community the most important thing to a city manager, or I think it's the perception of what they have sown, right? Yep. The perception is much more important than the city's actual safety. See, the department would not care at all about this wreck or this accident or this scene had it not got leaked. See, their perception, the perception of the police department was tarnished. Their image was tarnished. And that is the main point here. They don't care that you drove too fast through a crosswalk, that we're not talking about the emotional toll it's going to take on a cop that accidentally killed somebody trying to save somebody else. That's another thing that's crazy. You can read about this in this book. This one scene in the book, I'm actually chasing a bad guy and I wreck my car, and the bad guy gets off of an exit and he murders somebody and he rapes a female. I get to live with the rest of my life knowing that had I just calmed down a little bit, had I breathed a little bit different, had I not driven as fast, I might have prevented that guy from doing those things. It doesn't make that cop a bad guy that he smoked somebody in a crosswalk. It's unfortunate. He was doing things. He had the right intentions, right? He wanted to go and save whoever he was trying to save, help who was going to help. And by the way, I believe that the Civil Review the Civil Review Board in Seattle, who I can only imagine hates cops with a fucking passion, cleared this officer of any wrongdoing. You know what I mean? Because there is a time when you have to drive fast, and there is risks. Right? I don't drive fast, and this guy kills this woman in this domestic violence situation. I don't drive fast, and this bank robber takes hostages, and like there are times that you have to drive fast, and with driving fast comes a risk, a calculated risk, and sometimes those risks, you got an 80% chance of getting there safely, right? So that means you got 20% chance of fucking smoking somebody, and so they cleared this cop, right? But that wasn't really the big deal of this case. The case is that, and what I see here is two cops that really need some fucking help right now. Do we want these cops to commit suicide for doing the Lord's work? I mean, they said this guy was a good guy. They said all the cops liked him. They love him. He was a great person. He was a great cop. He fucked up. We get it. You have to fire him. But what do we want to do? We want to bastardize this guy and make it viral news and have him kill himself because he said some really dark jokes that are obvious to you that he needs fucking help. And he doesn't need help as in like, what a sad guy. God, this guy is so far down the hole that he doesn't know that he needs help because all he wants to do is help the next person. See, he's coping right now with serving others. Really, he really is. He's not a bad guy. I guarantee you he's not a bad guy. But that comes with a toll. That comes with a sacrifice. Every call that he rushes to, that there's a mangled body that he's trying to save, he loses a piece of his innocence. And it goes away. His belly gets a little bit fatter. His hair gets a little bit thinner. Goes back to a long time ago. There was a cop, a real asshole cop, real asshole on my police department. Had kind of a bigger belly, smoked cigarettes all day long. Disgusting. God, I hated him. And he sat at this one fucking highway, this V-split highway. I've talked about this on the show before. And he ran radar all the time. And he gave everybody a ticket. In the city, people knew this guy. People knew this guy was. And he wrote ticket after ticket after ticket. He was at the jail all the time. You're going 90 miles an hour, you're going to jail. You're drunk, obviously, you're going to jail. And this guy was always at the jail. And it was always a traffic-related offense. And as a street cop who needs help on the line, going to domestic violence calls and dealing with real crime, as I put it, real crime in the hood who needs help. Why is this cop of 15 fucking years still on the line? This fat cop that burns cigarettes still on the line. What a piece of shit, right? How do you not get off the line? How are you not a detective? How are you not somewhere else? How are you still riding the line? You fat piece of shit smoking your cigarettes, writing fucking tickets. And so one day I brought it up in the locker room. There was another old head in the locker room, and he said, "Hey, when you get out of the locker room, I want to talk to you." I said, "Yeah, I got you." We got outside, and he said, "Hey, that officer that you were talking about?" I said, "Yeah, what a piece of shit." He said he worked an accident there where a nurse was killed or something. I can't remember what the whole story was. From a wrong way driver maybe or something. I can't remember what the story was, but it was a horrific accident that was from gross negligence. And he says that cop has worked that intersection right there ever since. You see, he was a broken man. He doesn't give a fuck about what I think or what anybody else's think. Something happened that triggered him, and he works that intersection. He writes as many tickets as he can there because somehow that makes him feel better. and makes him sleep at night for some of the crazy shit he's seen. Again, I'm not saying he's right or wrong for what he does, but what I'm saying is there's a why he does what he does. And we will empathize with other people who make mistakes, and we will say that, well, they were misunderstood. The man on the subway who threatened a woman's life, he was misunderstood. He didn't deserve to be choked out by Daniel Penny. He was misunderstood. George Floyd was misunderstood. He was on drugs. He had a bad childhood. He did not deserve to die. He did not deserve to be abused at the hands of the cops. We justify their mental illnesses and we empathize with their mental illnesses. But when a cop doesn't hurt anyone and he lashes out because he's got no help and no support, all of a sudden it's unforgivable. That culture leads to police chiefs like the one that does all these crazy, disgusting things. When you allow the nuts and bolts to come off of the wheels, when the bolts fall off, where does the wheel go? The wheel strays off of the vehicle, and who knows where the fuck it goes. When we don't care, when you don't feel protected, when you don't have good leadership, the culture of your police department ends up on the news like this Tennessee sex romp scandal. Or do you remember the police beatdown in Memphis, Tennessee, where the officers all in a very thug manner beat Tyrese Nichols to death, and you had cops who had a culture of talking hood. When you allow a hood style of talk, if you're in a police department and you have somebody talking hood, that's not acceptable. We don't talk hood in uniform. And when you allow people to simply talk hood and use the N-word, and even though these guys were black, and you allow them to use the same lingo and talk that is used on the streets, when you allow your police departments to start acting like sopranos or like they're mafiosos, you end up getting what happened in Baltimore, where the fucking cops lock you out of their precinct because they're doing covert, undercover, really bad, crazy shit because they've allowed all the stressors of the job to get the best of them. And the culture of their department is disgusting. It is your responsibility as a supervisor, as the chief, as the leadership, to one, make sure your officers feel safe and they feel good. And that we're also checking up on their mental health and wellness and letting them know that the dark jokes can only be made within reason. Again, no real way. The Seattle police officers, that's unfortunate, man. What a dejected soul. I feel so bad and sorry for him. And it just fucking sucks that it got caught on body camera. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that maybe that Seattle Police Department, I think the chief's words were actually great. I think they were fine. I think her email was right on point. She did what she had to do, and I'm not knocking her on that. And I think that probably that's the type of chief, he or she, I can't remember what it was, but it's probably the type that if they knew and would have heard that and the whole world didn't hear it, that he would have been getting counseling instead of getting fired. They wouldn't have fired him over that. They would have gotten him extreme counseling. That's what he needs. He needs a therapist. He needs a doctor. He needs a priest. He needs somebody. He needs some time off. He needs to go on a cruise. He needs to cry it out a little bit. That's years and years and years of callous trauma coming out in that police car. Pig Latin, A Seriously Funny True Story is a very funny book. And I did write it, and I called it Seriously Funny because of the serious nature of the book. And I want to read you this review from NetGalley because it has a lot to do with today's show. And I would also like to shamelessly plug. I'd like to shamelessly plug my book as well. Josh, you want to fill in for me while I pull this review up for me?
Yeah, I have one thing that we are watching. There was a big earthquake that happened while we were sleeping this morning in Thailand, and I think the death toll's up to 150. The last that I heard, we were watching it just before we went live. There was a building that was under construction, and there's some dash camera footage now that I just got to see of this car driving down the road, and then you see the building on the left-hand side of the road, and next thing you know, the building's just not there. So we are monitoring that. But we were talking beforehand, and this is just perfect timing. I just think about it. things that we would have said in private that if we said them publicly, I made a joke before we went live that I even said too soon right after that. So even you and I right here today, we have our own, dark humor amongst ourselves that had that been very public, I might not have said that in public. Because I even jokingly said, maybe it's too soon just to be joking about it between the two of us. But even between the two of us, there's some dark humor. So like this job, you got to understand that, if you have a problem with the humor that people are seeing, well, maybe it's the things that they are seeing that's causing this humor. Maybe, okay, you have a problem with this? Well, yeah, I have a problem when we are responding to this and someone gets smoked in an intersection. And now you have to deal with that for the rest of your life. There's nothing criminal there. There was nothing negligent there. You were doing your job. There's nothing, you're not going to go to jail, but your actions killed somebody and you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. You don't think that that's going to bother them? You don't think that there's an issue there? Let's defund the police. Let's get rid of all of the funding and all the support and anything we had to do to have them. But as soon as shit hits the fan, make sure you dial 911 and complain every bit about the response.
I like how Katie K says it's all about the body cam documenting his comment. Now he is defined by it. It is his legacy, and that's so sad. She goes on to say, if nurses wore body cameras, yikes. Here's a review from my book. In one review, it says, what does Leroy Jenkins, Beyonce, and the Grim Reaper have in common? Well, I would tell you, but you should definitely read this hilarious book to find out. It really is an eye-opener as to what goes on in the world of police officers. Even if you do not read nonfiction, the stories that Eric tells almost sound like fantasy. Trust me, read it. And then in the same token, in the same book, here's another review. Not sure what to think about this book. The story was a bit scary, to be honest, as I kept thinking how weird humans can be. I would not feel comfortable saying this was an entertaining book considering the overall subject matter. 4 stars. Now here's another one. This one gave me 3 stars. Sally E. The book is really hard for me to rate and review. I was expecting something much different. The title says it is a funny story. I do not think this book was funny. In fact, I found it very dark. It starts out with a few good stories, and I think it's pretty interesting, but not funny. Then the middle of the book has a lot of blood and dying. Throughout this portion of the book, I keep looking back at the book cover and description to make sure it says it's supposed to be funny. I really didn't enjoy this portion of the book and realize now that I must not be the target audience. I did enjoy some of the police stories, and I also enjoy the parts where he talks about his wine interest. I think I would have enjoyed the book more if the author had shared more of his personal life and made it more of a memoir. So in one port, you have somebody that says this book is, and by the way, I don't know any of these people. They are called advanced reader copies sent out by the publishing house to random people. Though the one chick was a librarian. The one that gave me the 5-star review that said the book was hilarious is some guy at a Pennsylvania. His name is Javier. Here's Javier D. Here's another one, Morgan. He reviews the book. He gives it 5 stars. He says, the book truly opened my eyes to the emotional and physical challenges that law enforcement officers endure. While many people may believe they understand it, it is only through living the experience that one can fully grasp reality. Pig Latin provides the public with a glimpse into these experiences, bringing us closer to understanding. The writing is exceptional, immersing the reader in the story and evoking a full range of emotions. I found myself laughing out loud, feeling anger, sadness, and sympathy. Although it can be challenging to rate nonfiction book with such poignant stories, it was hard not to appreciate this work. I would have completed it in a day if I hadn't forced myself to put this book down, as it was incredibly difficult to stop reading. The other officers in the story, particularly Sirius and Red, were standout characters and added depth to the narrative. Overall, Pig Latin is an eye-opening and remarkable book that I highly recommend. It offers profound insight into the lives of law enforcement officers and the hardships they face. Thank you again for Ulta Books giving me the opportunity to be an advanced reader. So to some people, the book is funny, and to others, it's not funny at all. And again, I guess it goes to, your sense of humor and things like that. But this book, this is why when I watched this, when I saw this police officer, this chief that was creating an environment that not only wasn't safe for his police officers, but was actually extremely toxic. I wanted to do this episode because it's important to me that my family is raised the same way. See, you should treat your squad. You should, first Katie, I guess I assume Katie, that you're Katie K, that you are that you're a nurse. The patients I talk smack about assaulted me or despised me for being white. I was blowing off steam. I got you. So, but Katie K, when you become a supervisor, when you become the big head nurse in charge, I hope that your nurses, they know that there is a line and that you are very upfront with what that line is. Hey, ladies. Hey, guys. This is a dark job. We saw some shit today. Jason, you saw some really crazy stuff this week. You had a pregnancy miscarriage. You had this and that. Listen, I want you to go home 30 minutes early tonight. Or, hey, I want you to take 30 minutes on. Like, I want you to make these people feel free and feel like it's okay, and that you acknowledge that there is suffering in this, whether they want to let you know that they're suffering or not. Deep down, whether they even know it or not, they are actually suffering. Because that keeps that dark humor kind of in check, so where it doesn't come out on some kind of fucking crazy, body camera leak footage or cell phone footage and things like that. I want it to be an open, and sometimes we all do. We all need to be reminded. I need to be reminded. I have the darkest sense of humor on the planet. Luckily, I have a wife that keeps me in check, right? It's so great. I said I would acknowledge the chats here at the end of the story. Guys, if you want some personal stuff from me, you can join our Patreon. It's less than $3 a month. It's $2.99. It's less than a cup of coffee a month to join our Patreon. I put some real personal shit on there on Tansey Time on episodes 1, 2, and 3. It's going to keep going. We've also started our free Daniel Holtzclaw project. You can go to Free Holtzclaw on Instagram and please follow that. The podcast, we recorded it yesterday. And we have another true crime podcast coming out on the channel called Santana True Crime, where Detective Santana will be doing some cases that he's actually trying to solve. He's the author of A Murder on Campus, the professor, the cop in North Carolina's most notorious cold case. Now, the cool thing about our Holtzclaw project is we want to recruit you. We want to recruit you, the Wolf Pack, the listeners of the show. He has been accused of heinous crimes. He is serving 200 years in prison. I've been studying this case for 6 years. I've spent no less than a couple of hundred hours researching this case. I believe that this man is 100% innocent. And not only is he innocent, but he is exactly the opposite of what he's been accused of. Through all of the evidence and the breakdown, this was a good human being. A very good cop and a very good human being. And the media has completely lied, gone against the evidence. They have slandered, they have defamed his name. And through political persecution, this man is serving 200 years in prison for a crime that he did not even come close to committing. In fact, during the investigation, even though all of the evidence is on his side, when they seized his electronics, 0 pornography was found on any of his electronics. So this guy wasn't even involved in pornography, but somehow he's involved in all of these hood, ghetto rat, criminal women, prostitutes, rape charges that were set up by a very disgusting investigator who did a terrible job and had a vendetta out against Daniel Holtzclaw. We want to employ you, the Wolfpack, to dive into this case. And if you can find us evidence, and you can debate with me to show me that he is guilty, I will drop the case. I will stop, because I do not want to risk my reputation and my book deals and all my books for trying to represent somebody that is guilty of a heinous crime, even if it's one count. I will stop. I can't find it after hundreds of hours of looking at all of the evidence 100% objectively, and I'm not talking clerically innocent. I'm talking fundamentally innocent. I'm saying this guy did not commit these crimes, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's innocent like in the eyes of Casey Anthony or O.J. Simpson. What I'm saying is this cop is, the only thing he's guilty of is breaking police policy. That's it. And we are going to deep dive every part of this case and show you the evidence of where. And so we have a special failure to stop episode that comes out this week. We recorded it yesterday. So I implore you to please be a part of this. Join our Discord. If you join our Patreon and get part of Discord, we want you to help us with this case. We want you to look into this case and find things that we haven't found. We need your help to free Daniel Holtzclaw or to put an end to this. But I think if you look at the facts, you will also be like, we have to free this guy. This guy got a wrongdoing, blah, 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 blah. Please, please help us find evidence, and more proof. There's so much out there for true crime enthusiasts to look at. All of this case is documented. Every bit of it. You don't have to request any of it. It's all there. All of his interviews, the civil case, the civil trial. You can hear all of the evidence. You can listen to all the witnesses. Everything was recorded by phone call. There is no stone that has been left unturned on this case. And if you look at the entire case, it's evident that he is innocent. But how do we prove that he's innocent? With all of that information, how do we put it together and prove his innocence and get this into some kind of a higher court? So we need you, the Wolfpack. We're not smart enough to do it alone. We don't have the time to do it alone. But with your help, we can do this. So join the Discord. There's a free Holtzclaw section, right, Josh, that you're creating? Free Holtzclaw section of the Discord. And if you want to be in the Discord, all you got to do is be a part of our Patreon. Again, it's $3 a month. And that money is what's helping us do this investigation to free Daniel Holtzclaw. Also, on the Free Holtzclaw Instagram, there is a link that if you want to donate to the family, the PBA would not take this case. So he has no representation whatsoever. Again, that'll be covered in the Free Holtzclaw podcast that we're starting, which is all about podcasts where we've talked to his sister. There's a lot of girlfriends and stuff that we'll have on the podcast, so you can actually hear everybody's side of the story for this. But again, the Free Holtzclaw project, it's very special. I feel it's like I've been called from God to do this. It's one of the few things in life that I felt personally called to do, and I've been called to do this. So please, if you find it in your hearts, if you feel a calling to free an innocent man that is serving 200 years, a good Christian man at that, it doesn't matter if he's a good Muslim man or a good black man, a good white man, a good Jewish man, it doesn't matter. No man should spend their time in jail for something that they did not do. All right, let's go to the chats here. What do we got here? My neighbor was from Canada. It's Katie says, Tyler S. My neighbor was from Canada. He was the lead singer of Skid Row. Oh, goodness gracious. That's pretty cool. Bosco says, wow, KK, that had to be wild. Folk, I cannot stand for you degrading my friend Tyler like that. He's much better than Trudeau. I love a good Trudeau joke in here, too, by the way. Let's see. He's dedicated. Hey, man, I feel like I'm going to have to send that meme to people. Thanks. Yeah, we have a good meme page on the Discord as well. I think there's a good meme section, and I'm actually back on that Discord posting shit and checking it. I didn't do Discord because that was a Mike the Cop thing. He's the one that started the Discord for us. And so I was never really into the Discord thing, but now I see that I need to be in there, mainly for this Free Holtzclaw thing. Or you would think I need to be in the Discord because of my book, but no. And then as I started researching what Discord is, it's like a lot more fun than actual social media. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, the Discord. And that's where like-minded individuals, we have to keep it under a paywall though. So we have to do the Patreon because we don't want, we want it to be a safe place. We don't want it to be infiltrated by spammers, you know what I mean? Anti-coppers, we want this to be kind of like a pro, kind of a place that you can share memes and share images, but it's also safe. And again, that goes back to the culture. I'm the leader, right? So you guys send me really crazy and disgusting memes and pictures of your buttholes and all this other shit, but I don't send it back, right? I don't send it back because I let you know that yeah, you guys are funny, but I'm not trying to create a culture of lawlessness. I don't want you guys sending nudes to each other. I don't want you guys cheating on your spouses and having internet relationships with each other. And that's why I don't do that with you guys. I don't get inappropriate with you guys. And that way, because every female that's ever messaged me or private messaged me knows I will never cross the line. I will never message you after 11 p.m. I will never send you sexually explicit or enticing or flirty messages. I won't do it. I will engage with you like I engage the men, but I'll never cross the line because I want you to feel safe and I want you to be safe and healthy. And it's not healthy for you to get involved in internet relationships with other people. And that way is if you do send me something that's highly inappropriate, I will at least tell you that it's inappropriate and why it's inappropriate. And then if you do it again, I block you. You know what I'm saying? And that blocks it from people trying to DM me and spam DM me. And it's hard though, because, you know, I joke with the guys. This has only happened on a handful of times, but you guys know, you guys have sent me some really funny shit, right? You know, like some really funny stuff. But every once in a while, some female will jump on. She wants to be part of the club in the game. That's fine. But like, we have to keep it business professional with the females. I'm a married man with 5 kids, and I am not losing my wife and my 5 kids for some stupid internet titty pics from you or whatever. So I don't engage a lot of times if it crosses the line. Like if it's 11:30 at night and you're like, hey, what's good? Probably not going to respond to you. Right? Because it's not healthy, right? And I want our Discord to be healthy. I want it to be a safe and healthy place. If you guys are single and ready to mingle, I want you guys to connect on Discord. Nothing would make me happier. Listen, I'll affiliate. I'll be the affiliate for your wedding. But I don't want people losing their loved ones and having internet relationships. So, you know, if somebody is sending dick pics inappropriately, I need to know about it. I really do. If somebody is you know, sending messages, I need to know. It's not like you're going to get kicked out of the group. It's, I have a discussion. Hey, why are you sending dick pics? Like, let's not, this is your shot. This is your chance. Like, do not send a dick pic to somebody who doesn't want a dick pic, or you're out. You're out of the group. Like, I don't know if you thought it was funny or you thought she liked you. She doesn't. Don't do it again. You know what I mean? Jenny says, Will Cray's dating app. What's that?
I was going to say, it's all fun and games till someone gets a hypodermic needle to the penis.
Oh, God. I mean, Frank, this is why we can't have a good time. This is why we can't have nice things. Fucking idiot. Why would you shave your arm? You're the chief, dude. You don't play games. These are not your friends. These are not your friends. Your kids are not your friends. Can you be friendly with your kids? Yes. Can you be friendly with your coworkers? Yes. But you are their boss. You don't fucking cross the line. Jay Keefe says, then stop sending them to me, Eric. Geez, I told you 8 times. I'm proud to say I don't even think I've ever sent a dick pic to my wife. Maybe I have. Maybe I've sent a dick pic to my wife at one time. I feel like maybe I was in Austin one time and she asked for one to be funny. I think I sent a picture of my wiener to my wife. But I think it's only once. And even then I felt like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, yeah. I'll flash my titties. Sure. I'll show you my cleavage, you know? But I don't want you guys to go too far with it. It's hard. It's a fine line, right? But it's about the culture, right? And we know that our culture that we've created with Failure to Stop is a very fun culture, right? I think we have a great time. I love the WTS Wolfpack, the private Facebook group, which is free to join if you don't want to pay $3 a month to be a part of the Discord. The FTS Wolfpack, very fun, very safe, healthy place to be. Not too crazy, not too all. It's always borderline. We're always in the gray area with the memes, but we never cross that line. We're never mean or we get too insane. Right. Keith's wedding. Like, we're all going to be down there partying for Keith's wedding. Do you know what I'm not going to let happen right before Keith's wedding? I'm not going to allow Jason to, hook up with some stripper or some crazy thing because I'm his friend. Right. I hate that when friends like try to ruin their friends, their real friends' marriages before the marriages even start. Like, what the fuck, man? That's your friend. Have a good time. Get crazy. But let's not ruin the guy's marriage before it even starts. That's not a real friend. And a real friend kind of has to be a double Debbie Downer at times. So I'm like, Jay, let's fucking rage. Let's go crazy. Let's go nuts. Let's go stupid. And then I reel it back in when it's like, if it's going to get too crazy, right? Like, no, we're not going to do strip club wise. I don't really want to go. Or maybe we do the strip club, but nobody's going home with anybody. I'm sobering up. I'm going to get sober. You guys can go and do your debauchery, but you're going to feel a little bit of shame from me while you do it. You're not going to cross the line, which I think going to strip clubs before your wedding night is a fucking terrible idea. Like, I've done it a million times with guys. Like, I understand that there's a camaraderie, but like, again, a real friend doesn't celebrate that. And I feel like if I'm going to be your real friend, I'm not going to be the guy that celebrates that with you. I'm not going to approve of it. I'm not going to be I'm going to be judging you the whole time in the club. I'm not going to abandon you so that you make a mistake without me. I'm going to stay there and I'm going to be glaring at you like, this is a stupid idea. It's a dumb idea. We could have been bowling right now. We could be fucking putt-putting right now. But here we are in this Cincinnati strip club with all these beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio women. These women that were so hot and so pretty that they left Florida to come to Cincinnati to be a stripper. Katie Gay says, no, please, they are not boobs. They don't look good no matter the. Are you talking about my cleavage, Katie Gay? Katie, come on. Don't do me like that. So I want to feel safe. I want to feel loved. That doesn't make me feel loved. You're boob shaming, you're cleavage shaming me. Yes, if the stripper loves you, she's doing her job well. Yeah, but she doesn't. She doesn't love you. She doesn't love you. I went out to a concert and a stripper came with us, and really interesting. We didn't talk about her being a stripper or anything, but I knew she was a stripper because obviously my friends were like, hey, so-and-so is bringing a stripper that he met at the club. She's coming with us to this concert. Listen, I get it. She seems like she loves her job. She seems like she's pretty happy to come. She trains in some fighting stuff. And, I thought she was a very nice person. I'm not trying to judge or anything like that, but, again, I'm okay with the gray area. I understand the gray area. We can't cross the line though. You know what I mean? Can't cross the line. And I hope that if there's anybody in here that's a leader, gets that and takes note of it. All right, guys, I had a fun time. Kendall Chubb says strip club bowling. Great idea. Right? That's what we need. We need the strip club, but with bowling, so you're not all the way distracted. Like you don't go full pervert. You know what I mean? Like Hooters, where you're not just like full pervert. Like it's about the wings. Like the wings were so good that you weren't completely enticed by the surrounding Hooters or whatever. Oh man, I had fun with you guys in the chats. I hope this was a great, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There was a really great sports show right before this. Check out Fox, FAWKES News. Check out One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. If you like society and culture style news, make sure you check out The Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. The bar is always open with Beth and Greg, by the way. Love those guys and love their podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's what keeps us paid. And on the thing, we do like our YouTube viewership, but 99% of our listenership comes from audio and audio platforms. Leave us a 5-star rating or review on our audio platforms, which is iTunes and Spotify. Extremely hard to get those ratings and reviews, so we really need you to do it. Please. Oh yeah, tonight, Bar is Open with Beth and Greg is live tonight at 7 p.m. I will be at Muay Thai. I'll be just finishing Muay Thai. Maybe I can put it on in the car. I got a vehicle now that plays through my phone, so maybe I can put the YouTubes on the phone and I can tune into Beth and Greg. I can't be super chatty because I'm driving, but I'll at least be able to tune in. 7 o'clock tonight, I'm gonna set my alarm. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the chats on the Beth and Greg Bar is Open with Beth and Greg show. All right, guys, until next week, or if you're following FAWKES News, until maybe this weekend, whenever the breaking news happens, definitely we'll be here on Tuesday and Wednesday. And of course, news and sports on Friday. We'll see you guys soon. Guns up, giddy up. Take us out of here, Joshua.